Welcome. This is part 2 for the SRAM X5 shifter rebuild slash service. We're now doing the 9-speed side. Before we get started, make sure that your tension on the internal spring is completely off, which means you'll be going down to number 9. You can't see mine because mine's been scraped, but make sure you do that. We're going to need a number 3 here to remove these 4 screws. And now that you've removed those 4 screws, we should be able to lift up this cover. In fact, let's take off this barrel adjuster as well. And now we should be able to lift up the cover. Let's remove that spring. I think the other tip of that spring was in that small hole right located there on the right. There's a spring here going from there to there into that hole. I'm going to take that off, unlatch it. Again here we're going to have 2 number 5s on both ends that we'll need to unscrew, so you're going to need 2 Allen key wrenches to be able to do that. The other end will just fall out. So it looks like we've got this sprocket part to remove. Here you have that top plate. Let's take off that lever. There's a pin that runs through it. You can now take it off, and there's a spring there on the side. We can now kind of lift out all this. So you have I don't know what to call this, a plate anyway. And underneath it you had the spring for the that's part of the lever. It's gone flying a bit all over the place, but you have this plate. We've got a spring here, so that tip was going up there. We can take that off. That'll be for the pull, and there's the pull that's actually inside the lever. We've got that spring, and now you can fully take out the lever. You can also remove the dial cover screen. It's just a ribbon going through here, and if you want you can fully pull it out. I don't need to, but you can if you want. I don't need to clean anything on mine, so I'm going to just put it back in. You can definitely put some form of grease on the parts. Mine's fairly greased up as well, so I'm just going to now assemble it again. Let's begin with the lever. You've got a pull to put back on, so this tip here is going to go. There's a hole actually at the back here, and you'll need to insert it into. So there you go. I've got mine on. We then have this spring, so there's a cross-shaped tip on the interior, so that's where you seat the spring into, and one tip of that spring is going to go I'm guessing it goes right here. And the other tip's going to need to lodge in front of that pull. So now I'm just reclining that spring back, and we're putting it in front of the other pull. There you go. You can now grab the cover and start to put everything back in. So on top of here we've got the other spring, which is this one. You'll see that on the interior of that spring there's that metal tip. That's actually going to insert right there. There's a slit for it to go in. There you go. Make sure that's fully seated properly. You then need to turn this lever, and you're going to want it to go, I believe it's around about here, that other tip of that spring right there, and it's going to be seating like so. Okay, next part, we've got this plate. So that tip of that pull right there needs to go into the little hole, and the rest will be, well, they'll fall into place, the teeth into the correct spots. Okay, so grab this switch lever. We have that spring, and we're going to install it over here. There's also a pin that's going to run through it, so prepare that. So this lever is going to fit in between the two parts there and there, and that spring is going to go over the plate. So you should have something roughly like that. Then take the pin and run it through. Next, grab that spring. So the tip that's extra flat, that's going to go into this hole here, and the other tip of that spring that's facing downwards is going to go into the hole right there. So you should have something like this. Make sure that tip there didn't fly off the plate. So what we're going to do next is we're going to be tensioning the spring for that lever, and that pull part needs to be roughly about here, and you're going to need to be able to hold that lever in place and get your fingers out the way. So I'm doing it kind of like this. It's a bit annoying, and so that pull part there is going to go through here. It's going to be towards here more. So we need to just go up a little bit more. There. And once that's fully seated, you can pretty much let go, make sure everything's nice and firmly in place. Add some grease on all these parts if you need to. This plate right here is going to go in this position. So you'll see there's that little tooth that's going in front of the tab, and that pull's going through the spacing on that plate. That's extra long. Now you'll see here there's 3 holes. So we're going to grab the kind of cam, and there's that tooth that's bigger. Should be there on the right. So we should have that for now. Next, take the bolt and run that one through. And then you get the female bolt on the other side. You're going to need to align these up a little bit to get them to screw down. I'm pushing down this way, keeps everything in place and falling instead of falling out. You can now take the spring for this cam part, so that tip that's on the interior is going to go into the hole that's right there at the end of my finger. There you go. And this one here is going to recline back, and it's going to be holding on just here, like that. Now it's very annoying. You want that to hold in place while you put the lid, the cover back on, and this does fall off. We only need it to hold though for a little bit. Just so, oh yeah, and be careful when you're putting this back in. Make sure that's on the number 9, the little plastic strip thing. So I guess the easiest way to do that is just to roll it up to the max. Make sure everything's nice and seated. And now we can put the screws on. Okay, so let's test. Looks like it's shifting there, and it's working here. Excellent. So there you have it. End of chapter part 2. I hope this helped you repair your SRAM X5 shifter. Until next time, thank you for listening. Peace out.